Good evening, everyone. Time to fight the New World Order.
UN Agenda 21, bailouts, sellouts, Lehman Brothers, Goldman Sachs, false flag, terror attacks, Bill Gates, Henry Kissinger, New World Order, mind control, Bank of America stealing homes with cut and paste mortgage loans, police, state, taser guns, FEMA camps, mad run, Monsanto rules the food supply while Big Pharma dopes your mind, prison system, profiteers, foundations, fund the fears, fund the evil through the years, the world's not as it appears. CIA smuggles drugs while Wachovia and Wells Fargo launder them, then give the proceeds to the owners of the Federal Reserve Bank. Now the IRS takes money out of every single check. Money created out of thin air and leave you with debt. They want to make you a serf, a slave to their demand. They want to take your life in every way they can. Fluoride, GMO, vaccines, chemtrails, United Nations genocide. The world they show us is not real. This is how they kill and steal. Rothschild, Bundy, Rockefeller, Club of Rome. On the Georgia Guide, soldiers written in stone. Cut through the matrix, awaken to the lies. Do not be hypnotized. We are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, my friends. I'm Howard Nima. This is Truth Talk News. It's Monday, December 3rd, 2012. Now, I was going to be taking a hiatus, with the exception of the special broadcasts coming up this Saturday with Sherry Kane, Dr. Horowitz, and others discussing cointelpro. And, of course, the assassination of John Lennon, because Saturday will be December 8th, the day the CIA assassinated John Lennon via MKUltra. There's truth. And that's going to be an amazing broadcast. And then, of course, on Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Vinny B. The Truth and myself will be hosting a special Truth Talk News interview with Fritz Springmeier, welcoming all calls at 347-609-0911. And of course, you can always call in and chime in anytime you want. Phones are always open. But tonight, I mean, I really did. I'm working on some production things and some articles. I've written a couple of articles. I've got some other things I plan to do for the end of the year. So it's not as though I'll be missing, but I'm going to have a relatively short amount of broadcasts for the month of December due to various personal obligations and other things. That said, of course, I'm going to be doing a day-long Truth Broadcast Network presentation for the PSYOP of the 21st of December, the end of the Mayan calendar, and the whole interesting thing about that. I mean, there are people actually gathering in France to be in where they feel it'll be the safe place to be. I mean, this is an amazing PSYOP. Sometimes I can't even believe things that are going on. But I was really, I really did want to just sort of a little bit just get away from it, because sometimes this can be a consuming thing, the truth. And all of us come to a point where you just you need to maybe just take it easy a little bit or just catch a breath. And I really did want to do that, but of course I have other things. I'm working on films so that the broadcasts in the future are going to have more, first of all, interactive type activity, which I'll do tonight a little bit. I've got a few things to go over, and you'll see what I mean. But I want to get it evolved. I want to do some research. I want to do some other things that I need to do to bring this to the next level. I think that truthbroadcastnetwork.com will delve into some other things. I'm hoping that we can even establish, again, through various connections with local cable access shows and other things, to get the truth out and spread the broadcasts that way. Many things are down the road. Even maybe a live action or some type of a sitcom type situation with a truth or patriot type theme. I think that's great. So 2013 is a pivotal year. It's 100 years since we were enslaved by the Federal Reserve Crime Syndicate. And I think that's important. Now we are fully under their control. They are instituting incredible amounts of surveillance, monitoring our every moves, our Facebook activities, our everything that we do. But what really struck me over the weekend and caused me to have to broadcast tonight was a few things. First, that here in Connecticut, there's it was unbelievable, but I'm so happy that people in the medical profession, such as my good friend Chris Freedom Flowers, who is an RN in Montreal, are awake, and they don't take flu shots. Now, we have this whole problem here because, of course, here in Connecticut and elsewhere, they're forcing hospital workers to take flu shots. So a nurse here is her life is in jeopardy. That's right. Oh my God, her life is in jeopardy if she takes that flu shot. And these criminals in the big pharma medical mafia, who've paid off all their minions to get across their agenda. I mean, this is like in the school system now. If you work in a hospital, you're in big pharma. You got to take the shot. I'm sure the major doctors and people that are in the know don't take it, and nobody complains. They say, "Yeah, I gave it to myself," or whatever, right? Yeah. Well, the truth is, this particular situation is here in Connecticut, in Waterbury, Connecticut, which is only about 20 miles from my house here. They're stating that if you don't get your flu shot, you're going to potentially lose your job in other places as well. Denver, other states, that's Colorado, and other areas. And I'm trying to find this particular cut that I had here, who the person was. I wanted to get in touch with her. A nurse had been for 40 years. The majority of nurses have never routinely had flu shots. Aside from the possible reactions of fever, body aches, headache, and cough, there is the rare yet very real risk of developing Guillain-Barré syndrome. I always know how to pronounce that. A potentially life-threatening neurologic disorder with a flu shot. And they're smart enough to realize that they shouldn't take this. Now, even the power of big pharma has even got OSHA saying, well, it's safer to take it so you don't make people sick, But the truth is that it is again a collectivism. I'm trying to find. I could have sworn I had cut her name out here. Got a cut of her name. Maybe it's mixed into this. I don't know. But that really was a big thing. I know I had it here someplace. Anyway. That said, I don't want to take too much time on this, but certainly this is happening nationwide. They're going after the flu. You have to get your flu shots or you're not going to be able to work in the health care profession. Well, what about in the food business? If you have the flu, you shouldn't be serving food, right? So why don't they make mandatory flu shots for people in... Oh, I shouldn't give them any ideas. Oh, my God. What am I doing? But do you see the point that I'm trying to make? It's nonsense. It's against your constitutional rights. They just want you to just give them up and say nothing about them and don't complain. Because they know better than you how to live your life and how to be free. That's the truth. I mean, that's it. That's what they're after. They do know better, and they're going to tell you how to do it. Not to mention they want to make a ton of money off... Big Pharma wants to make a ton of money off of all the people in the healthcare business. Of course, they're getting more and more nurses. They're putting all these people on because of all the people that are going to be supposedly retiring and going into, long-term care facilities and having these type of needs that all these globalists have been selling long-term care insurance since the 1990s. Getting all these things in place. Now, wait, when the culling occurs, whatever it's going to be, which is their plan, and there's many ways they can do it, many ways. All of these, it's just like a fraud, another big fraud. They're just going to have all these people that have gotten into these fields that they get them in there into, and then, well, what they're going to really be doing is serving death, not serving life and health care and keeping people healthy. But I know it's hard to believe. I know you don't understand, but $9 gasoline, maybe you'll understand. When gasoline is $9 and things like this occur, when the collapse occurs, the planned implosion, things are going to really radically change. They're going to be different. They're going to be more absolutely pinned by the fact that the incredibly evil Federal Reserve oligarchy, the criminals at the Federal Reserve, are going to deindustrialize us by dollar devaluation, by these international corporations that are just have been like sucking off this country and the wealth of this country for the last 100 years. It's almost 100 years since the Federal Reserve Crime Syndicate was put into place. And now we've gotten to the point where your job is in jeopardy if you don't get a flu shot. The Pope, okay? The Pope, this is in my notes. I know it's not in order because I just can't do this in order. I don't know why. The Vatican introduces new security measures after WikiLeaks scandal. Okay, the Vatican clergy and employees will be issued with an identity card complete with microchip tracking device and sweeping new security measures designed to prevent a repeat of the WikiLeaks scandal. I mean, come on, they're going to be microchipping these people. They're going to be categorizing everything that you do, what you buy, what you use, what you need. And they're going to tell you what you need, and you're going to like it, and you're going to take it, or that's it. You don't have a choice. And that's what we have. We have authoritarianism with a smile, with Obama. Okay? The same thing with the food. And then dumb down the republic a little more. Dumb down the people to the point where they don't even realize that they're a republic, because everyone says it's democracy, but it's not. While Big Pharma is making all this money, doping up the people, putting them on psychotropic drugs, death panels, 16,500 IRS agents, all sorts of good stuff. The IRS is going to be coming nuts down on everybody's ass, all these businesses, because they have to keep this corruption in place. This Big Pharma nightmarish corruption. And you can't even get away from the taxes. No matter where you go worldwide, death and taxes are the only certainties in life, and if you believe Benjamin Franklin, he had been around today, he might have observed that taxes also become a great uncertainty in life. Taxes on earnings, investment income, sales, and other few things have gone up already in many countries, and further increases are possible. Now, this progressive tax, this communist tax, this progressive tax that I speak of, with Karl Marx's theory, the whole thing, is the central banks, all these central banks. Come on, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to put the dots together, ladies and gentlemen. They're bringing in an authoritarian dictatorship, one world government. Again, in their own words, the New World Order. Again, an assessment of the New World Order by Dr. Kirk Koch, or Cook. He could be Cook, whatever. Anyway, a New World Order under the UN will reduce everything to one common denominator. The system will be made up of a single currency, a single centrally financed government, a single tax system, a single... oh God, I can't even read it because I stopped it before it started. I knew that it was going to keep going. There it goes. I gotta read that. All right, it's important. The New World, for those that have not ever watched Truth Talk News, I mean, this is what I go digging into, who these people are that are making our lives so difficult and taking away our freedoms in the names of keeping us safe and watching how we're going to take care of our children. Like this whole nightmarish thing that's going on. I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. But the New World Order under the United Nations will reduce everything to one common denominator. The system will be made up of a single currency. The system will be made up of a single centrally financed government, single tax system, single language, single political system, single world court of justice, single state religion. Each person will have a registered number without which you will not be able to buy or sell. And we're going there, baby. I'm telling you. I don't have to detail this, but this is an assessment of the New World by Dr. Kirk Cook. And then, of course, David Spangler, Director of Planetary Initiative at the United Nations, stated that no one will enter the New World Order unless he or she will make a pledge to worship Lucifer. No one will enter the New Age unless he will take a Luciferian initiation. And it's truthful. Whether you know it or not, whether you've been deceived to believe that you're doing righteousness and good in the name of humanity, you are being deceived in the name of evil. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. That's the point. Anyhow, that said, taxes are going up everywhere. A progressive tax, keeping the people down, taking away the middle class. The wealthy can always afford the tax. People can't rise. The idea of having upward mobility is shot to shit because of the criminals at Goldman Sachs and all of these other pharmaceutical monsters that are trying to control everything that we do. I mean, they're poisoning us with fluoride in the water. They're taking away our homes. They're poisoning the food supply with GMO. They're rising a police state. I mean, taser gunning grandmas, putting people in FEMA camps. Not even talking about the FEMA camps that are down in New Jersey, where all the people they're in FEMA camps because they have nowhere to live. There's 40,000 people that have been displaced in New York. Where are they? God, you can't get any press on it at all. I've been trying to reach a few people in New York that are down on in the city, not in Long Island. Well, Long Island was hit, but people I know are mostly in inland, and it was really the shorelines that got hurt. I had a few people that I spoke to that were down in the Amityville area, and again, south of Merrick Road in Long Island is closed and under a curfew in the evening. There's been tremendous damage. These areas are not going to be rebuilt, ladies and gentlemen. This is the point of it. Now we have these tremendous storms that are happening on the West Coast, on the Pacific Coast. This is how they're operating. They're destroying us. They're killing us using weather weapons, HARP. This is what it is. I mean, this is how they're using it. It's really true. It's very difficult to believe, but it's unbelievable. The earthquakes that we've been having, all of these things, and HARP, if you read the technology, and again, Jeff Watala here on TruthBroadcastNetwork.com has the documentation. In fact, I have to speak to him so that we can corroborate this. Maybe we can even do a show together where we can talk about HARP and showing what it can do and the abilities of it and the patents for it. And I've seen these things. I don't have the copies of the documents, but I've read the documents. I mean, he has a trove of documents, and that's what he does on his show here on TruthBroadcastNetwork.com. And we just have to keep spreading the truth and understanding that our government, unfortunately, is being controlled by these evil bastards. It's not that we have bad people in our government. They're good people. The soldiers that fight for us, the people that work in pushing the pencils and everything else and making the cog in the wheel of our government work, they're good American patriots. But the people at the top and the highest levels, unfortunately, are evil and have been violated by this order. This satanic order, this skull and bones order, this Luciferian connection to the whole power structure of our government through London. This has been, I've gone over this many times. The fact that the power and the money is coming from London. We really never quite had our freedom from London. We've gotten our independence, but at the cost and of our indebted slavery. Now this whole thing with Israel going against the fact that Palestine deserves, of course they deserve to have their own country. And now there's this, finally there's some worldwide outrage against Israel. What they do to the Palestinians, they let them have their, they're talking about protecting themselves. If they left them alone, there would be peace. It's all mind control. It's all like, you know, they're not justifiable at all. And of course the media backs Israel 100%, the government backs Israel 100%. It's all the Rothschilds control, and that's not being racist. You see, the understanding is these guys are Luciferians. First of all, they have nothing to do with being Jews, although they are Jewish. The idea of this is controlling the world, and they're doing it. They control the money of the world, basically, and just about all the major, that's why they topple all these countries and governments. It is the truth. What we have here is a elaborate web of deception that is orchestrated from the top down, like a pyramid. And each level is compartmentalized. And each block in the pyramid, like each block in the pyramid on the back of the dollar, is a corporation that is put in place to control things. The 137 corporations that control the world. This has been statistically worked out by a computer. I believe it was in Australia or Sweden or something like that. I think it was Australia. And they determined, and this is out on record as well, that there are 137 companies that are like intermingled with all the other companies and corporations. And I always talk about Reed Elsevier, how it's so controlled with the New World Order propaganda necessary for the medical mafia, for all of the entire process, including Mockingbird, Project Mockingbird, like Alex Jones and all of those criminals. Okay, so Palestine is now recognized by the United Nations. Of course, the United States objects to this because they call them a terrorist group, where, remember, Hamas was founded by the Israeli Mossad in 1987. So how can that possibly be true? Again, it's the same thing with the United States, the CIA creating Al-Qaeda with Zbigniew Brzezinski in 1979, and then, of course, Ted Gunderson, as I said the other night, sold Stinger missiles to Osama bin Laden because he was a top gun at the FBI. That's right, in the top level of this thing, there's horrific stuff going on. Child sex trafficking, as you know, or maybe you're not aware. Drug smuggling, drug trafficking, it's unbelievable. Money laundering. Wells Fargo and Wachovia, they got busted drug laundering $379 billion and got slapped on the wrist. Nobody says anything. Nobody does anything. Why didn't they seize all their assets like they would seize if you had an ounce of cocaine in your house is gone, your car is gone, your business is taken away. They take everything. Not if it's the Wells Fargo or Wachovia or Bank of America, who also were caught. It's because the people are asleep, and we need to wake them up. You need to wake them up. You need to take what I say, take to heart what I say. Don't believe what I say. Research what I say. Find your own truth. There's only one truth. That is the truth. And you know it. And when you know it and you find it, how could you live with yourself without understanding? How can you not tell others? How can you not share this information? How can you not have the passion that's required to live and survive? It's about survival. It's literally about living like these people we read about in high school. You know, and it was terrible with the Bolsheviks, and it was terrible, and all. Oh yeah, you want to know how terrible it is? It's coming. It's coming. The evil is coming. It's here. It's like a pot that's been filled with water, and the water was cold, and they put it on a low flame, and they put it on a long time ago, and it's on a slow burn, and it's slowly boiling, and now they put a cover on it, and it's kettling over, and it's going to burst. And when this bubble bursts, it's going to make the Great Depression and all these other things look like, small potatoes. Oh yeah, those were really bad, hard times. Well, at least we had at least we have iPhones. No one will be able to afford their iPhones. They actually shouldn't say that. Enough people will, because of the population. You see, this is such an insidious plot that, fortunately, I can explain this. This multi-generational deindustrialization and bringing down of the economy of our nation goes to each individual class of people. So those that were at the top of the income bracket have lost some, but they're still way above. Those that are in the middle have dropped to the lower. Those that are on the lower have dropped from the lower upper class to the upper middle class. Those that have been in the upper middle class have dropped to the lower middle class, and so on and so forth. And as this continues, that gap is going to widen. And as it widens, the people are going to resist more and more about why they're losing all their wealth and all their buying power and everything else, while it's being manipulated by this insidious communist plot. Now, again, I'm going to push the John Birch Society because, maybe some people think I'm a nut and all of that, but this is a great organization. I'm a member. jbs.org. Go there. I know there's my friend Rob sent me some information about somebody who thinks that they're involved with this whole New World Order, but they expose it in a very, very, I would say, how can I put it? See, if you want to call me streetwise, they're more like corporate. It's like a corporate version of the New World Order. Maybe that's why you could say that against the New World Order. But it's all about taking back our country to a constitutional republic and bringing back God-given inalienable rights that have been pummeled. So it's a great organization, and I'll plug it. And Hal Shurtleff, my good friend, who is the regional rep for the John Birch Society. Again, a shout out to you for all you do. You do hard work, and Kip Webster, and I'm doing what I can, brothers, and it really is a fight. And I got to thank everybody. I got to thank Harry Link. I got to thank Pam Suggs, UnitedTruthSeekers.com, my pit bull. She watches my back and watches the back of the station. And Informed Radio will return in 2013. Partnered with, of course, Truth Broadcast Network. And we're going to bring this to another level, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to really happen. And the news is going to change. There'll be special reports like tonight. I didn't plan on doing anything. I really just ended up saying, how could I not, with all this going on. Of course, now Hillary Clinton is, warning Syria not to use chemical weapons. The one thing I could say about Clinton is she's kept us out of Syria this long, but there's a reason, and that scares me because they're such evil bastards, and they, there's a ruthlessness to them, but it's part of their plot. It's just not time yet for whatever reason, but they have a plan for Syria. Syria is not going to, Assad will fall, and he'll have to fall on the globalists. That's probably why. It's just not time. They don't have the intelligence hasn't been put together properly yet. It's not been promulgated in the media enough where they can get some puppet regime that's going to take over that they can control. That'll happen. That will happen. Now, the Department of Defense is sending hundreds more spies overseas. The Pentagon is going to send hundreds of additional spies overseas as part of an ambitious plan to assemble an espionage network that rivals the CIA in size. God help us all. And it's to target Islamic militant groups in Africa, weapons transfers by North Korea and Iran, and military modernization in China. Pretty scary stuff. This is Azure Soul. Stay tuned. We have a lot of more truth here on Truth Talk News, and I will be back with more truth in just a few minutes. You're watching Truth Talk News on truthbroadcastnetwork.com. Stay tuned for more truth the mainstream media ignores in just a moment. Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry. I just wanted to interject because the rest of this will take up most of the time. I wanted to hit on another little key point. I do have the end portion of the show is always going to have some new information that's going to be pre-recorded and filmed, or in this case, documented or whatever, of various globalists talking about the New World Order, various exposure of the New World Order and their plots to enslave humanity in their own words. So this is an important segment. Now, that said, I want to mention that this situation with the flu shots is in Waterbury is just unbelievable with this nurse, 37 years as a nurse, and now they're threatening her job, to take her job away. But we have this, this story is just wrong on so many levels. A cancer ward patient is missing because the 11-year-old girl was taken from the hospital by the mother in Arizona. Now, they're desperately searching at this point in time for an 11-year-old leukemia patient who was taken from a Phoenix hospital by her mother a day before she was about to be discharged. That's not true. It's not a day before, because it was supposed to be Thursday, this Thursday that she's supposed to be, whatever, it doesn't matter. According to AZ Central, authorities are concerned about the child's welfare as they fear that a catheter in her heart could soon become infected. Now, maybe not the fact that they cut her arm off because she had an infection while she was there. This, by the way, she's an illegal immigrant. She's from Mexico. And they're giving her chemo to her daughter, poisoning her. The daughter is probably being poisoned and she realizes it. They cut the daughter's arm off. They're continuing to poison her. So she takes the kid. I mean, I would do the same thing. She probably had no idea what she was getting into. And it's possible. Or, I mean, I know that's, I mean, come on. The woman's daughter has lost her arm. Now, they're going to demonize her and call her all these horrible things. But maybe she was just like this horrific healthcare system is the problem. Maybe that's the truth. I mean, I at this point, again, and I only speak the truth here on Truth Talk News, Monday to Thursday, as it says right there. So I'm speculating, but maybe that's the truth. We'll find out. So far, hasn't been found, but she's an illegal alien treated by our medical system that we paid for, and she left. So actually, she saved us money by leaving. But oh my God, you know, she's got this thing in her neck and all this. Oh yeah, well you. Whatever you did gave her a good infection that she lost her arm. Maybe they just wanted to get her to get away from you. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. So, I don't know how else to put it. But this whole idea of mandatory shots, Steve, here I have some. Here's what I was looking for. In Waterbury, the labor union covering the healthcare workers is clashing with Waterbury Hospital in contrast with these negotiations. And Steve Thornton, the vice president of District 111 or 1199 of the New England Healthcare Employees Union, said this week that the mandatory vaccination policy violates state and federal labor laws and that at least one employee plans to stage her own protest. And that's the one that we're talking about. Oh, here it is. Thankfully, I found this. Okay, now this is an important little piece. So Waterbury Hospital says their employees have to get the flu vaccine for the sake of the patients, but the union says the policy goes too far. Well, of course it does. Not only that, it's the sake of the patients. The patients, come on. It's the medical mafia. All right? Because it's a violation of my rights. Here's the woman's name. And I'm going to have her on. I'm going to get her because she's in my state. I will get her on this broadcast and we will talk about this case. Karen McKinnon walked out of Waterbury Hospital with her union reps and supporters around her. She had just been suspended 2 weeks without pay for refusing to get a flu shot. Because it's a violation of my rights, and I don't believe any employer should force, coerce, or threaten any employee to receive a vaccination they're opposed to just to keep their jobs. Amen. So like I said, what are they going to do with healthcare workers? Okay. Back to the more truth. Again, I want to thank Harry Link. Couple of more comments I'll make before the end, but this is important information, and stay tuned.
Authority requests that everybody stay in their homes.
I'm the only major candidate who opposed this war from the beginning. And as president, I will end it. Second, I will cut tens of billions of dollars in wasteful spending. That's why I've proposed an additional $1 billion in non-military assistance each year.
That for the first time in all of human history, mankind is politically awakened. That's a total new reality. Total new reality. It has not been so for most of human history until the last 100 years.
How would you rate the United Nations in helping solve some of the geopolitical problems we've had? Some people say they're not adding a lot of solutions, and some people even suggest we should have another organization internationally that can do the job that the United Nations should be doing. And even people are talking about one world governments. I mean, how do you view the UN right now?
Well, there should be such an organization. The word should implies that there is a kind of moral imperative or need for it. But it doesn't exist. Why doesn't it exist? Because we don't have a situation in which there is a concentrated source of power that has universal reach. Not even America has that. So the United Nations functions well in areas in which it is possible to generate consensus. And that deals usually with elements pertaining to human suffering, or to well-being, or to health. For example, the Food Organization, the Health Organization, the relief agencies, or arbitration of conflicts of secondary importance, in which the international community can kind of endorse what the UN is doing. But the UN is not a world government. The UN, when it comes to politics, is based on a fiction. Namely, 190 states, which are members, each of which is co-equal with the others, except for the 5 that have the veto right in the Security Council. So it is an organization which reflects the ongoing diversity of the world. And I think we have, as a consequence, we have to realize that real solutions to political problems, to political conflicts, come from those entities that have power and have the willingness or the ability to coalesce, or get stymied in the process, or even go into conflict. The UN can deal with areas regarding which there's a great deal of international consensus, like the ones I've mentioned. And that reality is going to continue for some time to come.
The fall of the Berlin Wall brought new hope. But that very closeness has given rise to new dangers. Dangers that cannot be contained within the borders of a country or by the distance of an ocean. Think about it. The terrorists of September 11th plotted in Hamburg and trained in Kandahar and Karachi before killing thousands from all over the globe on American soil. As we speak, cars in Boston and factories in Beijing are melting the ice caps in the Arctic, shrinking coastlines in the Atlantic, and bringing drought to farms from Kansas to Kenya. Poorly secured nuclear material in the former Soviet Union, or secrets from a scientist in Pakistan, could help build a bomb that detonates in Paris. The poppies in Afghanistan come to Berlin in the form of heroin. The poverty and violence in Somalia breeds the terror of tomorrow. The genocide in Darfur shames the conscience of us all. In this new world, such dangerous currents have swept along faster than our efforts to contain them, and that is why we cannot afford to be divided. No. That is why the greatest danger of all is to allow new walls to divide us from one another. The walls between old allies on either side of the Atlantic cannot stand. The walls between the countries with the most and those with the least cannot stand. The walls between races and tribes, natives and immigrants, Christians and Muslims and Jews cannot stand. These now are the walls we must tear down.
The way we're going to win over the long term is not just militarily. We've got to win over hearts and minds. And what that means is we've got to invest in countries that have no educational infrastructure, have no means for young people to get ahead. We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
You know, at home I've often spoken about a new era of responsibility. And I believe that this era must not end at our borders. In a world that's more and more interconnected, we all have responsibilities to work together to solve common challenges. And although it will take time, I am confident that we will rebuild global prosperity if we act with a common sense of purpose, persistence, and the optimism that the moment demands.
Don't assume it was left by accident. If you see something, say something.
I don't think that private institutions should have control over a nation's currency.
We need a manufacturing base, and then our economy will take off like a rocket again.
A special televised meeting of the New York-based Council on Foreign Relations provides a window to the real story.
The speaker, Vice President Dick Cheney, takes a question from David Rockefeller.
Vice President, I just enjoyed so much your whole speech, but I was particularly pleased that you gave such a strong endorsement for the free trade agreement for all the Americas, subject that has been of great concern to me for many years, and particularly recently, and I think it's absolutely essential for the strength of our economy.
Rockefeller's role in the drive for an FTAA was a lot more central than he portrays. Rockefeller cultivated Latin American leaders who could be counted on to support such a proposal. Both the 1994 Miami Summit and the FTAA proposal were conceived and nurtured by a Rockefeller-created network. Prominent among the organizations sponsoring the Miami event were the Council of the Americas, founder and honorary chairman David Rockefeller, the Americas Society, chairman David Rockefeller, the Forum of the Americas, founder David Rockefeller, the Institute for International Economics, financial backer and board member David Rockefeller, the Trilateral Commission, founder and honorary chairman, David Rockefeller.
Thank you very much, Richard, and I am delighted to be here in these new headquarters. I have been often to, I guess, the mothership in New York City, but it's good to have an outpost of the council right here down the street from the State Department. We get a lot of advice from the council, so this will mean I won't have this far to go to be told what we should be doing and how we should think about the future.
He was chairman emeritus of the CFR when Vice President Dick Cheney once served as a director, a relationship that Cheney concealed during his congressional career.
It's good to be back at the Council on Foreign Relations. As Pete mentioned, I've been a member for a long time and was actually a director for some period of time. I never mentioned that when I was campaigning for re-election back home in Wyoming.
Too many kids are what's making the planet worse.
A lot of these kids come from bad gene pools. They don't have stable parents making good decisions.
Mercury-containing vaccines may help, not harm kids, according to 2 new studies in the journal Pediatrics. These new studies suggest that the opposite, that the preservatives may actually be associated with improved behavior and mental performance.
Fluoride in water is supposed to fight tooth decay, but could it also cause cancer?
Turns out the government had the right under U.S. law to conduct secret testing on the American public.
Sponsored experiments did take place at hospitals, universities, and military bases around our nation. Some were unethical, not only by today's standards, but by the standards of the time in which they were conducted.
Any attempt to achieve world order must be the work of the devil. Well, join me. I'm glad to sit here at the right hand of Satan.
There's a need for a new world order. Someday, in the next few years, a solution will emerge.
The Great Wall is no longer a wall dividing China from the rest of the world, but it is a reminder of the fact that there are many walls still existing in the world which divide nations and peoples. But we are determined that those differences not prevent us from living together in peace. The interest that each of us has to maintain our independence and the security of our peoples, and the hope that each of us has to build a new world order.
We are in process of developing a whole series of techniques which will enable the controlling oligarchy to get people actually to love their servitude. People can be made to enjoy a state of affairs which, by any decent standard, they ought not to enjoy.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind: peace and security, freedom, and the rule of law.
Republican.
A crisis.
A new world is emerging. It is a new world order with significantly different and radically new challenges for the future.
The year is 2017. You're rushed to a hospital unconscious with no ID or medical history, but thanks to a microchip under your skin, it's all there. Science fiction 20 years ago, but a biometric reality today.
The technology is based on answering one simple question: am I who I say I am?
Already, fingerprints and iris scans verify passenger identities at airports. Within 10 years, that technology may be even more widespread. And look for more complex facial recognition programs that scan a crowd of thousands looking for a single terrorist. The latest home security locks use fingerprints to control deadbolts. And at the Jewel Osco grocery store in Chicago, some customers pay using their fingerprints. No paper or plastic.
You don't really need anything other than your hand, and you already got that with you.
Now the UN is backing a plan to change all of that and create a new global currency.
I want to thank everybody for listening and watching Truth Talk News here on truthbroadcastnetwork.com. Don't forget, Saturday, December 8th, the anniversary of John Lennon's death. We have a special broadcast with Sherry Kane, Dr. Len Horowitz, and others. Fighting the New World Order one day at a time here on truthbroadcastnetwork.com. And of course, we got Fritz Springmeier, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday. Now, the broadcast for Saturday with Sherry Kane is 5 to 8 p.m. So tune in. Just always tune in. 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on truthbroadcastnetwork.com. That's where it's going to be. And now, Harry Link with Death to the New World Order here on truthbroadcastnetwork.com. Stay tuned. This is where truth, the mainstream media ignores, is the top story, and your voice is heard. Good evening, everyone. Time to fight the New World Order.
UN Agenda 21, bailouts, sellouts, Lehman Brothers, Goldman Sachs, false flag terror attacks, Bill Gates, Henry Kissinger, New World Order mind control, Bank of America stealing homes with cut and paste mortgage loans, police, state, taser guns, FEMA camps, Mandarin, Monsanto rules the food supply while Big Pharma dopes your mind, prison system, profiteers, foundations, fund the fears, fund the evil through the years, the world's not as it appears. CIA smuggles drugs while Wachovia and Wells Fargo launder them, then give the proceeds to the owners of the Federal Reserve Bank. Now the IRS takes money out of every single check. Money created out of thin air and leave you with debt. They want to make you a serf, a slave to their demand. They want to take your life in every way they can. Fluoride, GMO, vaccines, chemtrails, United Nations genocide. The world they show us is not real. This is how they kill and steal. Rothschild, Bundy, Rockefeller, Club of Rome. On the Georgia Guide, soldiers written in stone. Cut through the matrix, awaken to the lies. Do not be hypnotized. We are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to have a relatively short amount of broadcasts for the month of December due to various personal obligations and other things. That said, of course, I'm going to be doing a day-long Truth Broadcast Network presentation for the PSYOP of the 21st of December, the end of the Mayan calendar, and the whole interesting thing about that. I mean, there are people actually gathering in France to be in where they feel it'll be the safe place to be. I mean, this is an amazing PSYOP. sometimes I can't even believe things that are going on. But I was really, I really did want to just sort of a little bit just get away from it, because sometimes this can be a consuming thing, the truth. And all of us come to a point where you just you need to maybe just take it easy a little bit, or just catch a breath. And I really did want to do that, but of course I have other things. I'm working on films, so that the broadcasts in the future are going to have more, first of all, interactive type activity, which I'll do tonight a little bit. I've got a few things to go over, and you'll see what I mean. But I want to get it evolved. I want to do some research. I want to do some other things that I need to do to bring this to the next level. I think that truthbroadcastnetwork.com will delve into some other things. I'm hoping that we can even establish, again, through various connections with local cable access shows and other things, to get the truth out and spread the broadcasts that way. Many things are down the road. Even maybe a live action or some type of a sitcom type situation with a truth or patriot type theme. I think that's great. So 2013 is a pivotal year. It's 100 years since we were enslaved by the Federal Reserve Crime Syndicate. And I think that's important. Now we are fully under their control. They are instituting incredible amounts of surveillance, monitoring our every moves, our Facebook activities, our everything that we do. But what really struck me over the weekend and caused me to have to broadcast tonight was a few things. First, that here in Connecticut, there's it was unbelievable, but I'm so happy that people in the medical profession, such as my good friend Chris Freedom Flowers, who is an RN in Montreal, are awake, and they don't take flu shots. Now, we have this whole problem here because, of course, here in Connecticut and elsewhere, they're forcing hospital workers to take flu shots. So a nurse here is her life is in jeopardy. That's right. Oh my God, her life is in jeopardy if she takes that flu shot. And these criminals in the big pharma medical mafia, who've paid off all their minions to get across their agenda. I mean, this is like in the school system. Now, if you work in a hospital, you're in big pharma. You got to take the shot. I'm sure the major doctors and people that are in the know don't take it, and nobody complains. They say, yeah, I gave it to myself or whatever, right? Yeah, well, the truth is, this particular situation is here in Connecticut, in Waterbury, Connecticut, which is only about 20 miles from my house here. They're stating that if you don't get your flu shot, you're going to potentially lose your job in other places as well. Denver, other states, that's Colorado, and other areas. And I'm trying to find this particular cut that I had here, who the person was. I wanted to get in touch with her. Yeah, a nurse had been for 40 years. The majority of nurses have never routinely had flu shots. Aside from the possible reactions of fever, body aches, headache, and cough, there is the rare yet very real risk of developing Guillain-Barré syndrome. I always know how to pronounce that. A potentially life-threatening neurologic disorder with a flu shot. And they're smart enough to realize that they shouldn't take this. Now, even the power of big pharma has even got OSHA like saying, well, it's safer to take it so you don't make people sick, you know. But the truth is that it is again a collectivism. I'm trying to find. I could have sworn I had cut her name out here. Got a cut of her name. Maybe it's mixed into this. I don't know. But that really was a big thing. I know I had it here someplace. Anyway. That said, I don't want to take too much time on this, but certainly this is happening nationwide. They're going after the flu. Yeah. Good evening, my friends. I'm Howard Nima. This is Truth Talk News. It's Monday, December 3rd, 2012. Now, I was going to be taking a hiatus, with the exception of the special broadcasts coming up this Saturday with Sherry Kane, Dr. Horowitz, and others discussing cointelpro. And, of course, the assassination of John Lennon, because Saturday will be December 8th, the day the CIA assassinated John Lennon via MKUltra. There's truth. And that's going to be an amazing broadcast. And then, of course, on Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Vinny B. The Truth and myself will be hosting a special Truth Talk News interview with Fritz Springmeier, welcoming all calls at 347-609-0911. And of course, you can always call in and chime in anytime you want. Phones are always open. But tonight, I mean, I really did. I'm working on some production things and some articles. I've written a couple of articles. I've got some other things I plan to do for the end of the year. So it's not as though I'll be missing, but